Well, good morning. Thank you. Welcome to our municipal planning regular council meeting today for Tuesday, January 25th. Calderman respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters.
Mayor, on the regular council, item 14.2, when it comes to the unassumed roads in the county forest, I have an interest of that report and for the county forest only insofar as the report and the discussion involves ATVs or trails. Regarding which I would have to disqualify interest as a result of my association with the ATV club. I will remove myself from the discussion if it turns in that direction for the duration of the discussion.
So we're going to move on to the Committee of Adjustment Land Division meeting agenda. And I will need a resolution to do that. The Council of the Township of Allenwood, Calderman, being a Land Division Committee of Adjustment, moved to the Land Division Committee meeting of adjustment meeting at 9:35 a.m. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Member Booth, seconded by Member Ainsworth. All in favor? The motion's carried. And I will confirm that there is a quorum of council as well as the presence of the Secretary Treasurer. And the meeting is starting at 9:35. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge the Township of Allen-McCalderman is located on the Mississauga-Neshinembig territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga-Neshinembig. The Township of Allen-McCalderman respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. Motion to approve the agenda, that the agenda of the Committee of Adjustments, the Land Division Committee meeting held on March 25th, 2025 be approved. Moved by Committee Member O'Neill, seconded by Committee Member Stover. Trying to say too much all at once. I got marbles. All in favor? That motion's carried. Any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. There are minutes to approve. And that was the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on February 25th, 2025. And the resolution reads that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on February 25th be approved. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Moved by Committee Member Stover, second by Committee Member O'Neill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion's carried. We're moving on to item 7.1. This is a minor variance application by James and Lorianne. Oh. Okay.
To learn more about investments, so I'm just wondering if that happened, or if named, who's going to reach out to them.
Go ahead.
Through the
Good.
chair, I have reached out to Dr. Julie Caprica, and she was unavailable to come to this meeting. We're hoping to have her scheduled for the Committee of the Whole meeting next month. I just have to get some details to her on procedures and whatnot to see if that works for her, but she is very willing to come in and provide a session. Thank you.
Thank you. And what was her title?
Her name is Dr. Julie Caprica. Her title
Where she
is
worked?
she's with Alderville First Nations,
Okay.
and she is their coordinator. I will have to confirm her title. She's the consultation manager.
Thank you. Answer your question.
You're welcome.
So, I just want to make sure I'm starting in the right place. Did I read the resolution? Not the resolutions. Did I introduce it? I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I'll do it again. The first application is minor variance applications for James and Lori Ann Maitland, MV 042024. And as if you recall, this was brought up at the last meeting and it was deferred. And I believe the reason was deferred was so that it was recommended that the applicant retain an archaeologist to complete the criteria for evaluating archaeological potential checklist. And there was also see if we could find some historical knowledge regarding previous development on the property. Do you have anything to add, Madam Treasurer?
Through the chair, the applicant's agent, Jeff Wicks, had advised that he did speak with two different archaeologists, and neither would answer yes to the screening question number 8. That is within the criteria for archaeological potential, which is the screening checklist that produced by the ministry. So as such, the recommendation from the previous report from February of 25th, 2025 stands. There was discussion at that meeting about the area being filled to accommodate the development. I did suggest to the agent, Mr. Wicks, to provide the archaeologists with photos and details on the addition, where the additions were to take place. Some of the photos were attached to the report. Based on the information provided, the archaeologists were not comfortable with determining that there was extensive or intensive disturbances on the site. It's expected that the presence of mature trees would be an indication that the site had not been extensively or intensively disturbed. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from council? Go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
Excuse me, through you, Mayor. So this checklist, and don't get me wrong, I believe if these things need to be done, we need to participate in them for sure. But the checklist says has there been entire property being subject to recent, extensive, or intensive disturbance. If yes, preceding questions do not complete the checklist. That's number 8 on the first part. And then if you go down that checklist to part 4 of it, there's another, actually number 8, that talks about disturbances of the property. Yes. So has the entire property or project area been subject to the recent extensive or intensive ground disturbances, recent after 1960? Okay, so it talks about quarries, major landscaping, building footprints and association constructions where building has deep foundations or a basement, infrastructure development such as sewers, gas lines, underground hydro line roads. All of the above has been done in that area, right? So if this checklist is saying that if all this has been going on, we don't need to do an archaeological assessment. If we don't have a dispute resolution with Olaville First Nations when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know, this is going to cost, if I'm understanding the owner prop now, some other things have popped into it. I'd like to hear it come to let council know what some of the issues are now, because they're talking about maybe having to sever the whole property. The whole property has to be have all these holes dug up in it. And we're just asking for a small garage to be built as an addition on the existing house. So I don't know if Olaville First Nation knows of all these issues and, you know, can look at it with us as a partner and go, yeah, maybe that one doesn't need to be done. So, you know, at the end of it all today, after maybe we hear from the owner, we need a dispute resolution with Olaville First Nation so we can actually clarify why they think this needs to be done when the system is telling us that it doesn't need to be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have any comments? Go ahead, Councilor Reed, or Councilor Booth.
Through you, your worship, I guess just a question through to Tracy. This assessment, Tracy, is this the homeowner that fills out this assessment, or who is it that starts to fill out this assessment?
Through the chair. So this checklist is provided to, it's available on the website. And it does speak to, if someone is not confident, so you could have a hired licensed consultant archaeologist to prepare the checklist for you. They're the experts in the field, and if they're not prepared to answer yes to number 8, I wouldn't be confident myself in answering that question.
Okay, because reading it through and what Councillor Ainsworth says, when you go to section 8, it's pretty clear that it's saying that has the entire property been subject to recent extensive and intensive disturbance? And it talks about, you know, building a basement and foundation and stuff like that. And I'm guessing that, is it the homeowner? Because it says in there, if you don't think you should save all your information and stuff like that, if you're not going to do it, right? It's just sort of confusing. I agree with Councillor Ainsworth. It talks about, this is not something that was just minor. They had lots of fill put in there. You can see when you look at the house that it's on a hill compared to the rest of the land. I just don't understand why somebody that wants to put in a garage, which is going to be another 20 feet, has to go through something like this. And I agree with Councillor Ainsworth. There needs to be some type of dispute resolution or something with them to say, listen, this is just common sense that this doesn't meet the criteria for it. So I guess through you, your worship, my other question is, if today we vote that an assessment is not necessary, what happens then?
Well, through the chair, if if council decide, or the committee decides to approve the application without the need for the assessment, First Nations are considered a public body and they have the ability to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If an appeal is submitted to the Ontario Land Tribunal, then the municipality would have to hire a planner to defend the position, as I have recommended approval with the archaeological assessment. So there is that chance of that happening. If that happens, we don't have control over when the hearing would be scheduled. And the land tribunal may look at this in the same light and require the assessment, or they may decide not to require the assessment. In speaking with Mr. Wicks, the example of intensive and extensive ground disturbance that was provided to him through discussion was a major construction, like if someone were building a new highway like the 401. So I think there's some interpretation as to what intensive and extensive disturbance means, and we could probably in the future get some clarification from the ministry staff on that. There is on page 6 of that checklist a little more detail as to what that means, and it's referring to things like quarrying and the building footprints itself. So when they're expanding the building footprint, has that area really been extensively or intensively disturbed, I think is the question. Thank you.
So just through your worship. So if they appeal it and it goes to the land tribunal, how long does that take? Because that complicates things, that if these people just want to build a garage, does that mean we could be delaying this for months, years or something, or?
I would expect months at the best. I'm not sure what the tribunal situation is right now in terms of scheduling appeals.
Okay, thank
I
you.
wouldn't expect a variance to be years out. Thank you.
Councillor Ainsworth?
Through you, Mayor. So this is a huge extra cost for the homeowner. Now they're talking like $10,000 by the time this is all said and done for them. So this is a huge extra cost for anybody to encompass for a permit to build a garage. And like I said, if it needs to be done, I'm okay with it being done. But the paperwork is telling us it doesn't need to be done, in my opinion. You know, so that's why I think we need to sit down with Oliville and create a partnership on these. If we go back 50 years in this township, I know we're all fairly new here, but if we went back in the records, how many times did we do any kind of subdivisions or building lots or anything that we ever dug up any artifacts? You know, even
I
in,
don't know that answer. Does anybody?
it just
know the answer
seems,
to that?
it just seems that this has started to hit our table here in the last 2 years. And for some reason, we don't have any say in it. So all I'm asking for is to be able to sit down with all of the First Nation and talk about the ones that are contentious.
So you were asking for a deference?
Well, I'd like to hear from the owner if they have time for at least another month, if we defer this, that we can sit down with all of the First Nation and put together a dispute resolution.
You may be able to do that. You may not be able to, but you could ask them anyways. I'm sure you could ask them. I carried on a little bit further. I went to number 9, which is the distance from the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that and this was, you know, stepping it off and everything else, but I did find that the lake is within 300 meters. The pond is within 300 meters, and there's a small stream that runs along there too. They're all within 300 meters, like around 200 to 250.
Mm-hmm.
So that would not pass it. And it would be sent back to someone to study it. That was what I did.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logo, to our planner, Tracy. Forgive me, your report was really good, but did you clarify in your report that there were 2 archaeologists that spoke on this matter?
Through the chair, through discussions with Mr. Wicks, that was what I had been told, that they had reached out to two archaeologists, and neither were willing to say that the site was extensively disturbed. So that's the conversation that we had. And if I may just clarify on the extent of an assessment, we have been discussing ways to scope the assessment. There's another application later on in the council agenda where we're proposing a development agreement so that if when somebody's dealing with a project, the assessment can be scoped to the area that they're proposing to work on, and then the agreement could secure for the the need in the future should they want to do any further development. They may or may not want to do further development. That way they're not having to dig up the entire property. They can scope it to the area that they are looking to develop at this point. Thank you.
That would make sense, specifically in this area. Thank you.
I'm not sure, we're getting a little bit off subject because what we're supposed to be doing is approving the rear yard and the easterly interior yard. So I'm going to read the resolution. Okay. That application MV 042024 by James and Lori Ann Maitland for a property legally described as Plan 470 Lot 13 Concession A Part Lot 25 geographically in the township of Haldeman be approved to permit a minimum rear yard depth from 12 to 5.3 meters and a minimum easterly interior side yard width from 6 to 4.1 meters. I need to move in a second. Oh,
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but prior to making a decision, we should see if there's anybody who wants to speak from the public before moving on.
okay. Does anybody from the public want to speak? It's not a public meeting. But it's good. Good morning, Mr. Bix.
So, I've recently spoken with two archaeologists and both feel that they need to come and do an archaeological assessment. They will not pass it due to Section 8 or Sentence 8. They didn't feel comfortable with it. And right now I'm scheduling an archaeologist to come and review the site. And Jim and Lori are getting quite anxious about this, and they don't want it to carry on. And their main concern is, how can we stop this once they start digging, and who is responsible to put an end to it so that they can't just keep running the tab and carrying on digging up entire, like their whole lot basically, and running into thousands and thousands of dollars just to build a garage. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm not so sure if I have the answer to that. Tracy, can you answer that?
Through the chair, I think with other technical studies in the past, what we've had the experts do is come up with a scope of work that could be reviewed by ourselves and Alderville First Nations. Dr. Julie Caprica typically will ask that people get in touch with her so that they can be involved. I had a conversation with her yesterday, and she's more than accommodating to try to come up with ways to scope the work. So as I mentioned earlier, rather than having to do an assessment over the entire property, it could be scoped to the area where the development is proposed, and then we can secure for the future if anything were proposed in the future through a development agreement, so that they're not having to dig up the entire yard. The dig would be focused to the proposed developed area.
Thank you. And Mr. Wicks, as I recall, and maybe not got the best memory, but I think I heard that there was some archaeologists that weren't available at the time, but are they available now?
Yeah.
They are available now, so,
And it wasn't that, we were trying to decide who was going to work.
okay,
And over the phone, neither one would agree to section 8 or sentence 8. And we submitted the photos and a copy of an old survey. And they wouldn't go to the current survey as well as they did at the site or at that stage.
okay. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna dig, does it?
He was 99% sure he wanted to dig.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Booth.
Through your worship to Mr. Wicks. So, and to Tracy, I guess it's important then that if they're going to have the archaeologists come out, that they are specific to where the garage is going. I don't think it's fair. This property is quite large, that because they want to put a third garage on, that they're going to be going over to the right side of the property and digging holes up over there when it has nothing to do with it. So I'm very concerned. You want to keep the cost low for the person that's building it. You don't want to, as Councillor Ainsworth said, add $10,000 to, you know, a bill that you're putting on a garage or something. So hopefully something can be worked out with Elderville that it is specific to the garage portion that they're putting on. And I'm fairly confident that if somebody goes out there and does a couple of things, they're going to find out it's just the fill from whatever.
Well, that's, I guess we can discuss that.
Yeah, and I guess the other concern would be the homeowner's kind of stuck here because if they defer it or if they are if we give a decision here that they don't have to and it gets disputed, this could be months and months and they're not going to get their garage done this summer, it sounds like, right? So I'd be interested to hear from the homeowner if if I was them, I'd be probably saying I'd take the chance and just have the archaeologists come out and hopefully, you know, if they're only there a day and they can do a couple of test holes that it's passed and that's it.
Are you representing the,
Yes.
okay, and what's your recommendation then?
Yes, they would like to carry it on and just have him come and see the site.
Okay. I'll read the resolution then, or did I read it?
Thank you.
I did.
One other.
Yep.
One other thing. Now, when we spoke with the archaeologist, he suggested the entire lot, because when he submits his report to the ministry, they delay a partial assessment, whereas they approve the full lot assessments, is what the archaeologist told us. You know, I can't. He had no timeline on that. It was just that was his recommendation. Was to survey on the lot. That was not something that I thought needed to be done, but that is his recommendation.
But not insistent. Go ahead, Catherine.
Through you, Mayor Logal to, Mr. Wicks. Do the Maitlands would they prefer to see this approved with conditions or deferred? Do you know? The recommendation that's before us, it's reading to be approved with conditions. Is that what the landowners prefer, or would they prefer a deferral?
I would say approved with conditions that it meets the assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Booth.
Through you, your worship, to Mr. Wicks. So that's a concern to me, what you just said, Mr. Wicks, because Tracy, what you told us is in the future, we're looking at being specific to say, you know, this guy has 100 acres, but we only want to focus on this. These archaeologist guys now are talking about they could dig dozens of holes all over this property. So I'm concerned. I'm getting mixed things here. What's going on? I mean,
Through the chair, in my previous answer, I spoke about the scope of work. I think it's, in this case, the archaeologist should be in touch with myself and provide the scope of work to be approved before they start doing the work. I don't think it, like you're suggesting, I don't think it's appropriate to have to assess the entire parcel when only a portion of the parcel is proposed to be developed. We have the condition for the development agreement that would secure for further assessment in the future, and maybe I don't know if the conversation between Mr. Wicks and the archaeologist would have had that detail to pass on. And then through conversations with ministry staff, I based the recommendation on wording that they provided that speaks to the entering of the report to the register. It doesn't speak to the wait time of having the ministry report back to say that it was done in accordance with the entire system because of their backlog. So they've recognized that as an issue and provided me with wording that works to accommodate what's needed to be done rather than delay things further.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor. Just a question that maybe we could ask. You know, there's all this new equipment out now, ground penetrating stuff that they can go down and just walk across it 20 minutes and they'll know exactly what's in the ground. Would that be something that we could talk about that maybe wouldn't cost $10,000 instead of coming in? Because I know the one up on Gully Road, 20 people came in and dug 820 holes on the property and found nothing. So I mean, it's great to make it localized if we can. And because I agree 100%. I mean, this kind of stuff just has to be as smooth as possible because it seems like it was dumped on us and we never ever got together to put a policy or a program or, like I say, the dispute resolution to it if one part or the other doesn't agree. And we need to do that.
I'm not arguing with you. Can I get a mover in a second or? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Second by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? Yes.
Through you, Mayor. So I just want to make it clear that we pass this today. That the owner was okay for what happens in the future of all this stuff, or are we going to work with the archaeological, the company that comes down to do it to make sure it's kept localized?
I don't know if we can call that. I think what our planners said is that she's trying to encourage that they only take it in the certain area where the cottage, or pardon me, where the garage is being placed. That's your want, but you can't guarantee that.
Through the chair. So what I am suggesting is that the archaeologists prepare the scope of work for review. We're trying to be as practical as possible here. And I think my approach is consistent with what I'm hearing today, that we want to make sure that the work that's being undertaken is what's needed and not beyond what is necessary. As we looked at more of these assessments, we can improve the process. And you know, we have had assessments come in where they have found artifacts, so we have to be careful. It is provincial direction in the provincial planning statement, so it's not, I wouldn't consider it a want. It's implementing policies that we're required to implement. Thank you.
Mary Catherine.
And I would like to add to that, it's not just that we're required to do it, but it is the right thing to do to work with our First Nations. We begin every meeting with our territorial land acknowledgement. We do have to enter all of these discussions in that spirit that we are trying to work with Alderville.
I think we're all saying the same thing. Mike, you have a final comment?
Just a comment from Councillor O'Neill's comment. It's okay to work with but it can't be one-sided. And I feel that that's what it is right now today. that we don't have a choice. And we need to have that choice for our residents.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have that choice because the provincial policy statements state this is what has to be done. But we can, I certainly don't mind if you want to make a recommendation after this is over that we
Yes, I will.
have, get these people out to have a chit chat or explain how it works. I think that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
we'll all have a better understanding of what's
Absolutely.
needed, what isn't. Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? The motion is carried. Now, do you want to add another motion?
Yes, to you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we put together a team for dispute resolution when it comes to archaeological assessments in the township.
That has to go to council as a notice of motion, not to this committee.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logal, just to be a part of this discussion and not to make it any longer. We have in the works that we're having someone from First Nations come, and maybe that would be a good part of the discussion then to ask them when we run into situations like this where it's not as expedient as we would like it. So I would just think that might be a better route to go. I just add that for a comment. Thank you.
I guess I was thinking that was Mike was going to ask for that they do come, but go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. You know, I've read the Williams Treaty. I'm not a professional at it, so don't, but the first thing it talks about is being good partners and being good neighbors. And I think that carries a lot of weight. So we need to have these discussions and be able to have these discussions freely and openly. So I will put forward a motion for next meeting.
Thank you. Do I have to read the conditions upon? I guess I probably do I?
Yeah.
Conditionally, that was approved by all council, but the conditions were that a submission of an archaeological assessment and any further assessments as recommended carried out by an archaeologist licensed under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism prior to any site alteration on ground disturbing activities. A letter issued by the MCM indicating that the reports has been entered into the Ontario Public Registry of Archaeological Reports must be provided to the Township of Alma-Calderman, and the recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasury of the Committee of Adjustment. Enter into a development agreement with the township if necessary to address the recommendations of the archaeological assessment. And number 3, obtain a permit from the Lower Trent Conservation Authority demonstrating compliance with the regulatory policies for the administration of Ontario Regulation 4124. Thank you. Next application for consent is by Doug Kelly. It's for PLN 2025-12 application. Excuse me, for consent for Doug Kelly. Tracy, do you want to take us, any comments on this?
Yes. Thank you. Through the chair, the purpose of application AH01 2025 is to sever a parcel for a lot addition to 7999 County Road 45, located in the hamlet of Fenella. The lands are currently used for residential use and remain in that use. There are no buildings or structures on the lands to be severed. The lot addition will add land to a small legal non-conforming lot, bringing the lot area up from approximately 0.26 acres to 0.67 acres. The proposal is in compliance with the provincial planning statement and the Northumberland County and Township official plans, as they all consider lot line adjustments for legal or technical reasons. The zoning bylaw zones the property as Hamlet residential through application Z 15/2022, which was related to a previous consent application on the lands A 15 and 16/2022. The retained lands comply with the minimum lot area and lot frontage requirements for the HR zone. The lot that is benefiting will not meet the minimum lot area. However, section 4.12 of the zoning bylaw recognizes existing undersized lots. The lot addition will improve the existing legal non-conforming lot. As such, further rezoning is not required. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. There were no concerns from Public Works or Building Department. Lower Trent Conservation Authority advised that there are no natural hazards on the property and no features that would be regulated under the Conservation Authorities Act. The Kawartha School Board had no concerns with the proposal. County comments did come after the writing of the report, and they did not have any concerns with the proposal either. The notice was circulated to all registered owners within 60 meters of the subject property, and a sign was posted. The proposed lot addition is located in a rural part of the municipality in the hamlet of Fenella. The applicable policies permit lot additions and lot line adjustments for legal and technical reasons. So we are recommending approval of the proposal with typical conditions requiring survey and draft transfers, as well as a $300 fee that is included in the fees and charges bylaw for the certificate of official. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Does anybody have, committee have any questions? Doug, do you have any, or Mr. Crowley, do you have any questions or comments?
No, that's fine.
Thank you. I'll read the resolution. That application AH012025 by Doug Kelly to sever a parcel for a lot addition in part of lot 21, concession 9, and part 5, 6, and 7, 39R14725, geographically in the township of Haldeman, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcels be submitted to the township, that a DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that the severed parcel be deemed as a lot addition to the recipient property, and that the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving effect to the lot addition, that the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on the title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act, and that a $300 fee be paid for the issuance of a certificate of official in accordance with the bylaw 782024 fee and charges. Mover and a seconder. Moved by member Stover, seconded by member O'Neill. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. The next application for consent is by Lee Gionho and Lee Mayung Song. That is PLN 2025-13 application for consent dated March 25th, 2025. Go ahead, please, madam.
Okay, thank you through the chair. The purpose of the application is to sever a parcel for a lot addition to 2667 Shelter Valley Road. The lands are currently wooded and partially cleared. The benefiting owner does not intend to develop the land. There are no buildings or structures on the land to be severed. The benefiting lands have a single detached dwelling and a secondary dwelling unit with a small man-made pond. The property was previously severed through application AH04-2023. The lot addition will add 0.2 hectares to the approximate 1.68 hectare lot. The proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the county's official plan, and the township's official plan. which shall consider lot line adjustments for legal and technical reasons. In the zoning bylaw, the severed and retained lands are both zoned rural. The benefiting lands were zoned rural residential through application Z10 2023, which was related to a previous consent application on the benefiting lands. The retained lands comply with the minimum lot area frontage requirements for the rural zone. The severed lot will require rezoning to RR, so the benefiting lot will conform with the minimum lot area. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. There were no concerns with the proposal identified by Public Works or the Building Department. Northumberland County's comments were provided after the writing of the report, and they did not provide any concerns with the proposal. Lower Trent Conservation advised that the application is consistent with the section 5.2 for natural hazards of the provincial planning statement. They do not have any objections provided the fee have been paid, and I believe that was received recently. The mapping shows a small portion of the property is on the retained lands are regulated. The detailed comments are provided to the applicant as it doesn't affect the lot addition. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board had no comments or concerns. Notice was provided to all circulated agents, or sorry, all property owners within 60 meters of the property, and a sign was posted. The proposed lot addition is located in a rural part of the municipality. The applicable policies permit the addition. The severed lot will require rezoning to rural residential. We are recommending approval with standard conditions, including the rezoning. And we will have to confirm that the lower Trent's fees were paid. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of council or members of the committee have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
So you, Mayor, I just want to reiterate that there's an unassumed road between those two lots and that these shouldn't infringe on them.
Comment?
That's correct.
And does it split the properties? Does it split the property?
No, it's on the east side of the retained lands.
Any other comments? I'll read the resolution that the application AH032025 by Lee Gihona and Lee Mung Sunk to serve a parcel for a lot addition in part lot 9, concession 3, part 1 on 39R235 geographically in the township of Haldimand is approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, that a registered survey for the several parcels be submitted to the township, that a DWG file on the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township in Northumberland County. 3, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Number 4, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. Number 5, that the severed parcel be deemed as a lot of addition to the recipient property, and the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving effect to the lot addition. 6, that the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on the title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act. Number 7, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act. Number 8, that the applicant provide confirmation from Lower Trent Conservation Authority that their request fees have been paid. And number 9, that a $300 be paid for the issuance of a certificate of official in accordance with bylaw 782024 fee and charges. Mover and a seconder. Moved by committee member Ainsworth, seconded by committee member Stover. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Just a question. Is there a representative online or anyone online that wanted to speak to this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have. Oh, the hand is down. There's nobody online wishing to speak to this.
Great, thank you.
All in favor? Motion's carried. That will adjourn this meeting. So I'll need a motion to adjourn that the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on March 25th, 2025 be adjourned at 10:20 a.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Member Ainsworth, seconded by Member O'Neill. All in favor? Motion is carried. Now we're going back into another meeting. Yes. Yep. We're back at 10:25.
You would need a seconder on that.
Yeah, we don't need one. We're in between meetings.
Okay.
To the municipal planning / regular council meeting. So I'll need a motion to reconvene to that. That the council of the township of Allen-McCullough, being a land division committee or committee of adjustment, reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting at 10:25 a.m. We're going into public meeting. And there need a motion to go into a public meeting. Pardon me. I need a mover and a seconder to reconvene. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have a motion to go into a public meeting. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McCullough act as follows. That council go into a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act at 10:26 a.m. on March 25th, 2025. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. All in favor? Motion's carried. And the first one is zoning bylaw amendment application 2821425, Ontario Incorporated for Burnett, and the number is Z0120025. Planning 2025-14, a zoning bylaw amendment application 282145, Ontario Incorporated. Motion to convene. Okay. So we need a mover and a seconder for that. Tracy, you want to take us through this?
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor. On January 28th, 2025, the Committee of Adjustment conditionally approved application AH 21-2024 for the creation of a 4.7 hectare lot, retaining a 1.7 hectare lot with a dwelling and accessory building. Aside from the standard conditions of approval, the applicant was required to obtain rezoning to address the lot area and place wetlands in a required 30-meter buffer into an environmental protection zone. An archaeological site assessment was prepared by a qualified professional as a condition of approval for AH 21-2024. The recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer. A development agreement is necessary to address recommendations. A bylaw is included in the agenda to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the development agreement. The subject property is located on the northeast quadrant of the township on the east side of Quail Road, north of Clark Road, and south of Webb. There is an existing single detached dwelling and accessory building on the property. The property contains a tributary of Percy Creek and field verified wetlands. The topography of the site varies considerably, rising along a drumlin to the northeast. The area is largely agricultural with scattered rural residential lots. The provincial planning statement does support rural lot creation in sections 2.5 and 2.6. Section 4.1 requires natural features to be protected for the long term. Development and site alteration is not permitted in wetlands. And in order to demonstrate conformity, the wetlands and 30-meter buffer are proposed to be zoned environmental protection. There is adequate lot size outside of those features to accommodate the development of the residential lot. Section 4.6 does not permit development on site or site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or potential unless they have been conserved. Due to the presence of wetlands and a water course on site, an archaeological assessment was required. A portion of the subject lands are regulated by Lower Trent Conservation Authority, who reviewed their responsibility in regards to natural hazards in accordance with section 5.2. Based on their review and the characteristics of the water course, engineered floodplain mapping was not warranted to define the flood hazard. As such, the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement. It's also consistent with the county's official plan that supports lot creation in rural areas, as well as the township's official plan. The township's official plan also reiterates the need for the archaeological assessment. Within the zoning bylaw, the property is currently zoned rural, and there is an environmentally sensitive area that is applied to the water course, which will remain. The rural zone permits a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings, agricultural, farm uses. The required minimum lot size is 5 hectares and the minimum lot frontage is 60 meters. The proposed severed and retained lots do not meet the required minimum 5 hectares. The lot areas are 4.76 hectares and 1.71 hectares respectively. Both lots will need rezoning to address the reduced lot area. The wetlands and regulatory buffer are proposed to be placed in the EP zone, and the ESA zone is an overlay which will not be changed through this amendment. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. Public Works had no concerns with the proposal. Their staff had met with the applicant on site to review the entrance. It will be located in the northwest portion of the severed lot on Coyle Road. Entrance and building permits are required prior to construction. County staff had no objections to the proposal. There's no adverse impacts on county roads or infrastructure. Residential curbside waste collection will be provided to both parcels, and a sewage permit will be required for the new dwelling. Lower Trent advised that it appears that the driveway crossing Percy Creek may be possible, is yet to be demonstrated through technical submission. The applicant will have to either provide a site plan demonstrating sufficient space for a building envelope west of the water course, or submit the technical information demonstrating conformity with the water course crossing policies. The requirement for technical submission is included as a condition of consent. They recommended the wetlands be placed in the restrictive zoning. Alderville First Nations reiterated that a stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was recommended in the event of future development applications or alteration on the retained lands with the existing single detached dwelling and garage. They did ask how the location of the driveway was proposed, and we provided details and noted that a development agreement can be registered on the title of the retained lands to require the archaeological assessment should future development be proposed. They also asked for details on the entrance and confirmation of how the species at risk and Department of Fisheries and Oceans requirements are met, which would be part of the review from Lower Trent Conservation Authority. Kawartha Pine Ridge did not identify any concerns or issues related to their mandate. The stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was completed for potential for recovering archaeological assessments. was noted in stage one, so the stage two assessment was carried out on the proposed severed lot. The archaeologist recommended that should future development applications or land alteration be proposed on the retained lands, the stage 1 and 2 assessment is required. The archaeologist advised that should materials be encountered during construction on the severed lands, the approval authority, a professionally Ontario licensed archaeologist, and the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism should be notified immediately. The assessment is available in the planning department upon request. Notice was circulated to all registered owners within 120 meters of the property, and signs were posted on site. The proposed severed lot is located in a rural part of the municipality with frontage on Quail Road. A rezoning is required to adjust the lot area, which does not conform to the rural provisions for lot area. The evaluated wetlands and associated buffers are proposed in the EP zone. A development agreement is proposed later in the agenda. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and the township and county official plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, any from the public that have any comments? And we'll also open it up to people that are on virtually. Greg, I think you're on the line. Do you have a question or comment regarding this application?
None specifically. I just wanted to say that I am here, and Tracy really covered all the bases there. But yeah, I just wanted to make it known that I am here.
Thank you for letting us know that. I'm going to read the resolution. It is recommended the Council of the Township of Alma-Culdeman enact as follows. That the Council of the Township of Alma-Culdeman reconvene to the Municipal Planning Regular Council meeting at 10:36 a.m. Gotta get a mover and a second for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Is there anything else in the public meeting? Okay. We'll just follow right along with the agenda then. Next, we're going on to Planning Department reports. And the first one is zoning bylaw amendment application by Victor and Tanya Hesma. And it's regarding Cedar Meadows Game Farm, said 012024. Tracy, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Through the mayor, application Z01-2024 was approved by council on February 26th. Holding zone provision was applied to the zoning to ensure the applicant entered into a site plan agreement with the township to address fencing, hours of operation, signage, confirmation of parking area, provision for sanitary privy, proof of insurance, and recommendations from the environmental consultant. The conditions for removal of the holding symbol was identified in bylaw 15-2024 and have all been fulfilled by the applicant. The owners have signed the agreement, which will be registered on the title of the property and is enforceable. It establishes the hours of operation for the game bird hunting preserve that are between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Maintenance of continuous fencing of the hunting area and caution signage around the perimeter is required. The owner is required to obtain written permission from the township prior to conducting vegetation removal or performing maintenance within the unmaintained road allowance. The owner has provided proof of insurance, which indemnifies the township against claims for loss, damage, injury, or death directly or indirectly arising in relation to the commercial use of the subject lands. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Any questions from council? I'll read the resolution that the bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration to approve an amendment to the bylaw 2019 to remove the holding zone symbol in relation to application Z012024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Now we're going into planning bylaws. And the first one is bylaw 232025 to amend bylaw 192019 zoning bylaw Z012024. Bylaw 23-2025 to amend 192019 zoning bylaw Z012024. And the resolution reads that bylaw 23-2025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw in relation to application Z012024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 25th day of March 2025. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Second by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Bylaw 242025 to amend bylaw 192019 zoning bylaw Z012025. BL 242025 to amend bylaw 192019 zoning bylaw Z012025. It is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McCalderman enact as follows. That bylaw number 242025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019, the zoning bylaw in relation to application Z012025 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 25th day of March 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Bylaw 2025 to execute development agreement with 281425 Ontario Incorporated. This is for Mr. Barnett, AH212024. That bylaw number 252025 being a bylaw to execute and a development agreement with 28211425 Ontario Incorporated. Burnett AH212024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 25th day of March 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Second by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Next, we're going on to administrative reports. And the first one is councillor training request by Deputy Mayor Stover to attend the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference. And the resolution reads.
Sorry.
That's okay. Stefan wants to dance anyways.
The happy couple, sorry.
That Deputy Mayor Stover be approved to attend the 2025 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference to be funded from the 2025 Councillor Training Budget. Can I get moving to seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? Just wondering, where about you going? Ottawa? Okay. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we have a municipal access agreement with Northumberland County Broadband Project. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McCalderman enact as follows. That the council receive report PW 2025-06 Municipal Access Agreement for Northumberland County Broadband Projects. And Stefan's here this morning. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
You have any comments or questions on the report?
Nothing specifically, just here to field and answer questions if you should have any, Mr. Mayor or council.
Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logel, to Stefan. Is there a start date? I know when we did have the group before us, they mentioned April. Is that still the start date?
So I've received my first municipal consent form. They haven't given or requested a road occupancy permit, which is typically once the MC has been approved, they would request for a road occupancy permit, and then they would provide a time frame of when they're actually going to be pursuing with the project.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, they have started in Northumberland County, have they?
Yes, I believe they've started in Hamilton Township and Trent Hills as well.
Thank you. Any other, go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Just in the report, you make reference to some complications around forced roads, and I know every contractor is going to encounter that, right, Bell, and all of them. Any sense that there's any that are going to be particularly time consuming or troublesome for us, or is there anything as council we can do to make that easier for you?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't know which staff doesn't know what roads are forced. So typically, if there's an MC application, we know there is a forced road. We can just simply note that, and it would be on new build or the organization to go and secure the necessary permits with them. As for just, I guess, for help from council and whatnot to kind of help guide us through this would just be additional staff. We're going to be receiving quite a large volume of MC applications, so they can eat up quite a bit of substantial amount of time for review. And if there is a back and forth, unfortunately, until I really receive the actual MC application, that's when you're going to begin to see if if there's going to be some difficulties where they're going to be placing the infrastructure.
The follow up.
Yes, please, through you. In your previous municipality or when you're having your like inter-group meetings, is this something that you guys have discussed about the forced roads? So like, I know you're new to this position, so obviously you don't have too much background, but other places would. Is this a discussion that's come up?
I think other municipalities, with the conversations that I have, they understand it as a concern. They've moved ahead with the agreement. And like I say, with a forced road, if something were to arise out of this, there are remedies that we can to go and possibly through assumption and taking over the right of way, that we could go down to remedy the situation.
Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
You, Mayor, it's under my understanding that these forced roads are already in our jurisdiction. Because of, some of them could be back in the 50s when all this started, right? The property.
1850s, yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, way back like that. So I'm under the assumption that this has already been taken care of. Like when the forced roads were designed, for instance, Wilmington Road, right? That was cut through property. So that's municipal right of way. So I don't know why there's an issue or would be an issue.
Go ahead, Steph.
The issues typically arise when a new homeowner or somebody has purchased a property and maybe there's been, I guess, the perception that the road has been used for these times, but not necessarily a bylaw or something specific has been passed. So there are roads where I think that is definitely the circumstance. All the legwork has been done, but what I'm more or less trying to make council aware of is that there is the potential for roads or where the paperwork hasn't necessarily been done. So I don't know exactly where. We don't have the information on hand, but it is a possibility, and I'm just simply trying to express that.
I have one question, and it's regarding Schedule B. I'm not sure, that's the relocation costs. And it goes down from 1 year to 5 years or whatever. And the first one is, the most expensive if we want to do some relocations. Can you give me an example of where a relocation would be?
So they typically, my professional experience, what I've seen is if we were to endeavor in like a major capital project, let's just say, and rearrange a roadway, and we were to find that that fiber line depth was going to be possibly in the way of a storm sewer or something that we wanted to have included within our design, that's typically when we would encounter the relocation costs, and we would approach them and say, look, we have this project that we would like to go ahead. The placement of the fiber optic conduit is going to be in the way of our storm, and then we would basically work with them in this agreement to have that lowered or moved or whatever would be appropriate in that circumstance.
So just a little bit more specific, if you had a bridge or a culvert that you were replacing, would that necessarily mean that or not?
So within the MC applications, I believe there's certain clearances that they're supposed to be keeping away from these types of infrastructure. Now, if there's improper placement, I believe the agreement also addresses that. So that does provide us with a bit of protection.
Thank you. Any other questions? I will read the resolution. That a bylaw be brought forward. Oh, pardon me, that the council receive report PW 2025-06 Municipal Access Agreement for Northumberland County Broadband Project, and that a bylaw be brought forward for consideration to authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into an agreement with Northumberland Networks LP to construct, operate, and maintain the fiber optic network of Township of Alma Calderman right-of-ways. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Going to move on to bylaws, and the first one we have is bylaw number 262025 to execute an agreement with Northumberland Networks LP BL 262025, and that's to execute agreement with Northumberland Networks LP 2025-0325. That bylaw 262025 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with Northumberland Networks LP to be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 25th day of March 2025. Mover and the seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Next is bylaw 272025, being bylaw to amend 332024 and that's to execute an agreement with Northumberland County for use of forest roads. And it is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma Calderman act as follows. That bylaw number 272025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 332024 and execute an agreement with Northumberland County for the use of forest roads be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 25th day of March 2025. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
If I'm understanding correctly, we're just looking at an extension of what we already have, but mine is, how are we progressing on that agreement? Are we still on that May timeline that we talked about earlier?
Go ahead, CAO.
Through you, Mayor. So we have met with county staff several times, and this is to you as another extension as we are trying to work diligently through all of the unassumed roads and bring a very thorough report to council as to what the suggestion might be to move forward. The other aspect of it is the consideration that council did want us to do a public meeting as well with respect to it. So Emily, our clerk, and Stefan, Jeremy, they all met to discuss the county forest, and further detail will be coming soon, but this is just to extend the existing contract.
Go ahead, follow it.
Sorry, but the timelines that we'd initially talked about, those are still kind of where we're thinking this is getting dealt with this spring, or?
No, the timelines have definitely been very challenging, and that mostly has to do with information getting getting back and forth or going back and forth between the township and the county. We're having to meet with the county lawyer as well as county staff, and with respect to going through the finer details of a futuristic type an agreement between the township and county, it proves challenging and difficult.
Thank you. And to be a little bit more specific to Councilor O'Neill, I think this was initially supposed to be approved in September of 2020. Roughly.
That is correct.
And you've had several meetings and you're working. We got a mover and seconder. All in favor? Motion's carried. That concludes the first portion of the meeting. We're going into a closed session for three items, and then we'll come back into the regular council when that's finished. So the recommendation is that the municipal planning regular council meeting of March 25th, 2025, move into a closed session under Municipal Act Section 239 2B for personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, regarding F, advice that is subject to solicitor privilege, and including communications necessary for that purpose. And it's regarding staff matters, advisory committee appointments. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. All in favor? Motion's carried. We are now into closed.